tenemos como un pequeño rato por si queréis hacer alguna pregunta. Voy a invitar a las tres ponentes a que se puedan acercar aquí. Y bueno, nos dan como 15 minutos, podemos extender un poco más.
Bueno, en realidad es que tendríamos que estar aquí. Sí, hola, no sé si nos verán. Ay, espera, voy a... Aquí estamos, ahí estamos. Espera, sí, ponte tú aquí. Ahí. Ya, bueno. ¿Quieres una señal? Vale. Preguntas. Nayara.
Congratulations for the panel. It was really interesting. And I think that all of your presentations were really interconnected. And I was wondering, since you were talking about hunger, how does the idea of hunger connect with, for example, the creation of the vampire, like we have first presented, and then the subversive idea of the vampire that we have talked about. And then I also want to ask, have you considered, like, for example, an eco-critical approach in your analysis?
Questions are, number one, how does the concept of hunger connect, or, you know?
And eco-criticism for me.
And then, yes.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about vampires. I think she was asking about hunger and vampires. But yes, definitely. I mean, I'm working with this series and also the movie Ravenous from 1999, where cannibalism, it's really openly employed and deployed to, sorry, those mean the same thing. It's used to actually depict how empire just consumes and consumes and consumes and gets nothing back, and how actually this kills the land. Yes, exactly. I'm not talking about capitalism in the text because they are both 19th century. So like capitalism is starting out because of, but you know, I don't like to actually get in there. But with the stuff I do, and the eco-critical approach, yes, it has been done before. That's why I'm not doing it, getting into it much. But yeah, the terror, especially the novel, has been primarily analyzed as an eco-critical, eco-conscious Gothic text, in which the imperial hunger is literally killing the land. In the panel the other day, I haven't talked about the supernatural creature, but basically eating all these men who are already poisoned by the food they're eating because it's badly canned because of the lead. It's killing it from the inside out. So it's killing a representation of the land. And well, the expedition also kills several Inuit people, so who are the part of the land. So yeah, but yes.
I was talking about it because, for example, in Frankenstein with the figure of Robert Walton, for example, I feel like how nature responds to this idea of men trying to colonize the land, so the land decides to punish them, block them, so that they cannot continue with their colonization.
I think that's also like a really...
That was a comparison of Frankenstein, Captain Wanton, and what she's been talking about.
I will give way to them now. But yeah, there's also a really interesting thing going on between Frankenstein and terror, because on the one hand, there's this Victorian obsession with the Arctic and the Antarctica, because it was like the ultimate representation of the sublime. You're alone in this vast land and nothing else, and there's little people around, very racist, but like it's literally written out like that in Jane Eyre, and it appears in Frankenstein and in text at the time. I haven't mentioned it, but the Wilkie Collins and the Charles Dickens were obsessed with the expedition. They wrote a play together about the Lost Franken expedition. It was like a cultural phenomenon. And in the latest adaptation of Frankenstein, in the Guillermo del Toro one, the guy who built the ship, the Robert Walton, it's a Russian expedition in the adaptation, but the guy who built the ship is the one who built the ships for the show, for the terror. So I think that's really neat. Sorry.
I mean, how does this consumerism and this colonization appears represented in hunger, if it is in relation to the vampire in the that we explored? Because, for example, the figure of the Wendigo in American tradition is really connected with that hunger and consumerism of of the Western world.
So from the perspective of Western writers and Western cultures, I think that before it becomes it's subverted into a metaphor for ultra consumerism and predation over the land and the people that inhabit the land, other people. Initially, I think it's a metaphor. Let's see what you think about this. It's a metaphor for the hunger, how hungry do you need to be in order for you to forget that you are human and you become an animal. And so how scary is that, how thin the line can be and what it takes for you to remember that you are human. So from an eco-critical perspective, post-humanist perspective, the point is that we are animals all the time. And so I think it's looking at that gray or much more colorful area between the black and white, if you like, of what it means to be human and an animal at the same time, like the coexistence of the animal instead of having to object it, outwardly.
I do agree. I absolutely agree. And I don't know, have you watched the Dracula 2020 by the BBC?
Not yet.
In this particular series, Dracula is very conscious about what he eats. He chooses what he eats. And that's what you said about the line between being human and being a monster. The Dracula, the vampire, the monster that we're used to, is obsessed with blood or with energy or with whatever. But this Dracula, these new versions of the monster that come with exploitation, cinematic exploitation, literary exploitation, are much more conscious about what they eat, and therefore they are more human than they used to be. Yeah.
And that's something that Anne Rice did already in yeah. Okay. So I think that we're running out of time. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
to everyone online too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.